depending on which business you're at. From your perspective, what does the ideal legal ops team look like?
It really depends on the company and the size and what their goals are. Going back to being a scuba instructor, right? There's two things when you teach divers how to dive, especially at technical levels that are a lot more advanced and more risky. Two concepts come to mind, and one is situational awareness, being able to look around you and pivot and react to what's happening in real time. And the other is task loading, right? It's very easy to maintain your buoyancy if you're not doing anything, but give somebody a compass underwater and ask them to set a heading, and suddenly they're all over the place, right? You're adding to it. So you need people that are good communicators, that are competent, and there's certain roles I think are really important. One, you need somebody to focus on the spend management and the billing issues and things like that, because that's your spine, right? It's like I was talking about, the spend is what kind of governs everything else that you do. And that needs to be a full-time dedicated role because of all the issues that come up. Even at the law firm side, law firms oftentimes don't know how to bill the way a client wants to be billed. And there's a lot of conversations and training around that, about leads, about using Legal Tracker or using Team Connect and how that works, or what the outside guidelines actually mean. The task codes, what you're requiring, that's a lot. That's definitely a key role. Like I said, you need to have an idea person, somebody kind of sitting above that.
There's the innovator.
Yeah, that can sit back and look big picture and get to know the team and what their pain points are. More and more with bigger companies, I think it's important to leverage, especially with GAI, generative AI coming on the table, data scientists. And it's hard sometimes for a legal team to justify that salary just for the legal team, but that's a resource that can be used across the entire
There's a lot of use cases.
Yeah, and that's more and more going to be a trend. Again, I've been using GAI and legal ops since really 2017, in the early days, long before ChatGPT. It's an area of frustration of mine, is you have a lot of legal tech professionals that work in e-discovery that are holding themselves out as AI experts, right? And GAI experts in particular. And they're saying a lot of things that are harmful and that actually set progress back in terms of giving wrong advice to people because they're not data scientists. They don't understand what's under the hood or how this is going to impact judicial decision downstream. So I think all of those roles, if you've got the budget, roll into a position that can really shave down your outside legal spend and kind of improve your processes over time.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that. Where do you see the AI vendor market in 3 years? And will there be more or less companies to help the legal market?
Yeah, so I think GAI is going to, and it already is, right? It's already in tools that you can't escape from. It's already in Microsoft Office with Copilot.
Right.
It's already in GitHub for programmers. It's being built into Westlaw for your legal research. E-discovery, AI has already been a component for many years. It's nothing new, but the generative aspect of it's going to bring in prompt engineering and understanding mechanistic interpretability and all of these terms that are very specific to machine learning that a lot of legal professionals haven't encountered yet, and why it matters. So yeah, I think on the consultant side, on the vendor side, they're going to have to broaden their roster of people, especially with data scientists. And I see this happening in e-discovery software companies more and more. And I think with legal tech folks, we listen to podcasts and we go to legal conferences and we hear people that really aren't experts saying things that they think you want to hear, sometimes using ChatGPT to generate that content.
Give me some notes.
Yeah, and you just end up in this space of not really having a lot of like productive or accurate information, and that's a problem. So we need to get more experts in the table, and that's definitely going to come in the form of vendors. Prompt engineering is going to be a huge thing, and I think that people don't really think about what that means. I can, with my students as an example, a lot of professors don't want their students to use ChatGPT to come up with papers or work product. I encourage it because it's going to be something they're going to have to use in the future. But I'm like, if you use it, show me your work. I want to see at least 5 prompts that you use to get that particular output.
Oh, so you're asking for the inputs.
Yeah. Show me your inputs,
like
it. And how you got to that answer, because we have a lot of international students that it's a really great tool to really help them master the language and the format and the conciseness of our language that's so important in litigation. So it's a great tool.
I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about legal technology. Let's talk about the human side. So how important is the human side, the human interpersonal skills in the legal field right now?
Yeah, it's huge. And I wish I had spent more time on this earlier in my career. I remember being a very insecure, people throw around the term imposter syndrome. When I was a younger paralegal, I felt like I didn't know what I was doing. I was afraid to go like knock on a partner's door or ask for advice. Every work product I would turn in would get marked up in red, and I'd sit there and I'd ask other people and try to figure it out.
You're used to the hot seat, though. Come on.
Used to it, but it's still somewhat demoralizing and scary, right? When is a non-attorney trying to figure things out. And so the human side, like what I always say is, You can learn more in a 2-minute conversation
Oh, for sure.
with somebody than you can spending an hour on an email and getting a response. Plus, busy attorneys like yourselves, you don't want to get a densely worded, hyper-technical email that you have to spend the time to respond to. So put your stuff aside, knock on the door, pick up the phone,
Have a
get
conversation.
face-to-face, invite someone out for barbecue. Go sit down and have a conversation. You're going to learn so much more. And developing those relationships carry with you through your career. Some of my best friends nowadays, the best man at my wedding, he was an associate at the first law firm that I worked with that I really partnered up with, and we learned a lot about spoliation cases and e-discovery abuse cases on a big Motorola case. He's still my best friend, my very first e-discovery vendor. Had lunch with him last week from 20 years ago. We're still very close. He's in Dallas. These relationships carry with you, and they help you out. I know with you, if I come across a tool that I've never used before, and maybe I have a student or somebody that needs to understand it, I could pick your brain and you'll call them directly and have a conversation. You've got that. Yeah, it's the biggest thing is understanding how to approach people, how to talk to people, how to translate between legal and like common language so people understand what you need. Yeah, it's huge.